Hello everyone, today I have a Halls of Atonement 19 key for you. This is going to be one of the most scuffed keys I ever post on this channel, but the reason why I am posting it is because I want you to see how we screwed up, what we did to fix it, and also, that's how you learn, right? You learn the best from failure, not from success. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it, and let's just hop right into it. So we're going to open up with the standard double pull with the hero. Watch for the thrust on these. Luckily, it was Tyrannical week and not fortified because I would get one shot by this thrust that I walk right into. I honestly thought the range was a little bit smaller, but it is not. It is quite large. So watch the deadly thrust, please. You can also help out with hodging the rapid fire. I hodged that one kind of late. I need to actually start tracking some of my teammates' stuns and stuff like that. I have been rearranging my Omni CD, so I have not been able to fully track everything that I've been wanting to track. But, tracking teammates, not just their defensives and their offensives, but tracking like their hard CCs, stuff like that. Definitely very helpful. So I ran out here. We are running with a mage, so you can tell them to decurse you. I called it out a little too late, but, don't be afraid to ask them to decurse the curses from these mobs or just kick it. But the way that we see it is there are more important casts that you can kick when curse can just be removed before it actually does any damage. So I would suggest saving your kicks and your CCs for the other stuff so that you can help your tank kite, and then you could just decurse the curse. Also, it's helpful because most groups run with a mage, so you could actually decurse on the second boss, which we'll show you. But yeah, so we're just going to continue going through this. Remember, inspiring prevents you from interrupting and CCing the other mobs. So we're nuking down the Houndmaster. Now, Loyal Beasts can't get interrupted, but you can CC the Houndmaster. It'll help your tank out a lot because it will enrage the Gargans, and that's a no-no. So, especially when you don't have a de-enrage like we do. So, yeah, make sure you stop that stuff. Just use a Stormbolt or, Heimer Wrath. You can even blind it. Just help your tank out with kiting because the mobs in Halls of Atonement really, really hurt, especially before the first boss. Even on tyrannical weeks, I mean, our tank is just getting clobbered. It also makes it harder that it's necrotic. So, even though it's not fortified, it kind of feels like fortified, where it takes forever to kill everything. Your tank is constantly kiting. You can't really heal all that well. But all right, so in this next room, this is where we actually have the screw up. We are doing a slightly different route, and sometimes or I think normally we pull the packs in the back, but today we are not pulling the packs in the back. We accidentally butt pull it though, you'll see in a second, and it actually is going to screw up our percent so badly. So I'll show you how we handle it. But yeah, so we're gonna go in here and we're just planning on doing these first two guys, but we go to dodge the Shard of Halkias's stuff on the ground. You'll see right here, I think. Also, collect sins, you can interrupt that. Make sure that's getting interrupted. Okay, right here. So we're kiting a little bit, right? And then the stones come out of the ground and we accidentally butt pull the extra mobs. So now we're freaking out because we have like perfect percentage that we need to work with to spawn our pride when we want to spawn them. And so we decide, hey, you know what? Let's just kill the shard and just not kill anything else and run out of the instance. Like we're just gonna straight up go out of the instance and not do this pride. So we're running. I'm stuck in combat, so I can't get on my mount. I'm a slow little holy paladin with no divine steed, and we're going to just run and exit the instance. So, and again, the reason why we're doing this is because with prideful, you don't want to screw up the percent. We want prideful at specific points, and you might be thinking, "Oh my god, this is a total time waster." Like, no wonder why you guys just barely time this key. Yes and no. So we actually didn't end up losing as much time as you think that we would lose because we didn't kill the prideful. We just ran. So if we would have killed the prideful there, we would have wasted probably another, 45 seconds to kill it. And then we would have had the pride buff, but most of the pride buff would have fallen off anyway by the time we got into the next pack. Not most of, but like maybe 40%. So really, we didn't actually lose that much time. And thank God we reacted the way that we reacted and did it immediately because we thought the pride was actually running to us, but it was running back to its spawn point. Good thing we did what we did because we ended up timing this by 15 seconds. So, listen, mistakes can happen in these keys, in these 19s, 20s. I mean, above that, the key's probably dead. But don't give up. If you make a little mistake like that, don't kill the key. Because worst case scenario, even if the key dies and you can't time it anymore, you still get the practice. And we did a lot of keys this week where this happened, where we killed a key to something dumb, but then finished the key out, and we learned so much because like the stress was off our shoulders, right? Let's just finish it. It gets us a vault key, and we also learned from it. And that's really what it is. Like these higher keys, it's not like gear's not gonna help you, right? Gear's really not gonna help you pass like a 15 or 16. It's skill. You just have to learn the dungeons, you have to learn the mechanics. Here's not gonna help you prevent getting one-shotted from something dumb. So yeah, keep that in mind. So we accidentally pulled this groundskeeper here. This was not intentional, but the percent is so low that it actually doesn't screw us up. So we're just gonna continue. We're not gonna leave the instance over that. But be careful of the butt pulls. They will screw things over. So going through, tank is kiting stuff. That bleed, I forgot the name of it, but the bleed that's applied by these packs, that can get really nasty really quick. If your tank has like 4 or 5 bleed stacks, it's something where I would be like, hey, can you Kyrian pot this? Fun fact, our Demon Hunter is not Kyrian, actually. Our Demon Hunter is Night Fae for the hunt. So we do not have access to that in our kit, but it's fine. I mean, Demon Hunters, they just don't take damage, man. Like, I know they're about to get nerfed, and I'm sure they'll still be okay after that, but until that nerf comes, I mean, Demon Hunters just do not take damage. But anyway, we're going to continue going through here. Now, I guess this is the start of a point that I would like to make in this dungeon, which is another reason why we barely timed this. It wasn't even really due to the incident that we just had. It was, we were single pulling trash packs. And I mean, we're kind of at the key level now where you can't be doing that. You have to double pull things, really coordinate your CC. So the next time we go and do one of these higher 1920 keys, we're going to really start working on double pulling. Because let's be honest, we should have pulled the Gargans and the Houndmaster with those two guys. And I think we were a little nervous. We were going easy, didn't want to screw anything up. And we also didn't know if this was still timeable. So not that we were necessarily taking our time, but we were just doing what we were comfortable with. Looking back, we would have saved a lot of time because you get more value out of your cooldowns when you have more mobs. And I know that there's AoE caps, but some classes don't have AoE caps. And actually, as a Holy Paladin, if you don't know, Shield of the Righteous does not have an AoE cap. So, not that you really are going to be the number 1 damage dealer, but think of things like that where you get more value out of things like Combust, you get more value out of things like Zuen and SEF and stuff like that when there's more mobs around. So, that'll drastically speed up keys. And if you ever watch MDI, I know those guys are literal professionals and they know these dungeons better than anybody else. But, that's what they do. They double, triple pull some packs, and that's how they get these dungeons completed faster. They're able to output so much damage and get so much efficiency out of their cooldowns, and that's something that we need to work on. And we are actively working on. That's what's nice about having a group too, dedicated group, and I highly suggest doing that to anybody who doesn't have one. Pugging is awful. I hate pugging. I refuse to do it on like higher keys. So really highly suggest that. So for this pack too, I highly suggest saving wings because this pack can get kind of hairy if something gets missed. There's also the thrash that you have to worry about. So I actually pre-aura the thrash, which in hindsight I probably didn't need to do because we did have the pride buff. Also, make sure you're cleansing the magic debuff immediately because that does a lot of damage, and if that goes out while you have the thrash going on, it's actually really, really nasty. So, again, probably could have held aura, but I'm also gonna be honest, I don't know what else I would pop aura on. I don't really need it for the boss because it's not going to save anybody if they get hit by the mechanic. But the trash packs up ahead, I mean, there's not a lot of AoE damage. One thing I have found is during necrotic weeks, I'd kind of just use it as a little bit of a tank cooldown. I know that sounds really stupid, but if my tank has a lot of necrotic stacks and he's trying to reset it, or like there's a mechanic coming up and I can't heal him up, I mean, 50% DR is still 50% DR, right? So, yeah, I mean, think of it that way. I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing that all of the time, but at least during necrotic weeks, it helps. Helps a little bit. So you do have a thrash here with a collector, but it's only 2 mobs, so I don't necessarily need aura. I can just heal through this. If this was fortified, and I had prideful on the last pack, then maybe save aura for this pack, and then you could just heal through it, the other thrash in the pack that we were just at with your pride. That could help. You want to really maximize those things. Fortified trash is really, really difficult. Like I don't know. I think people are like, oh, fortified's easy. It's easier in some respects because the bosses don't last as long. But I gotta tell you, the trash is scary in some of these dungeons, man. Halls especially. This first opening area, not a joke. So okay, we're going to go through here, and we're going to grab this middle pack. Sometimes I wings this pack. It depends on affixes. But since it is a tyrannical week, I really want to help out with boss damage as much as I can throughout the dungeon. So I'm going to try to hold cooldowns as much as possible. Sometimes it's unfortunate, you just need to pop it. If there's a prideful coming up and you don't have any cooldowns to get through it, sometimes you just need to pop the wings. And it hurts. I'm not gonna lie, it hurts. I do it I think I do it once or twice in this dungeon, but here's the way I look at it. If you wipe on a prideful, right, because you didn't pop wings, your key is probably dead at this point. So just pop the wings and then yell at your DPS to do more DPS. That's really a joke, but the truth is though, pop wings when you need it. Don't get too greedy. Get greedy when you need to be, if that makes sense. I know it's not really the best explanation, but yeah. Anyway, we're gonna get through this pride. I have aura coming up in 8 seconds. I would like to use aura on this pride. I fished for a wings proc. I didn't get one, so I actually did end up popping wings on this pride. And the reason being, again, look at the damage we're taking. It's insane. So this next boss is really easy to heal. We are grabbing the Stoneborn to use during the boss so that we can get some extra damage. We even do this on fortified weeks. It's pretty easy. But yeah, honestly, this boss is a joke as a healer. All you have to do is just don't stand on the tank at any point so you don't get slammed. Don't stand in the red shit on the ground. Most mechanics at this level, especially on a Tyrannical, are just gonna one-shot people. So it's not even like you can heal through them. So I really just suggest going in here and just doing as much damage as possible. Heal people up that may get stuck in some of the shit on the ground. That's it. It's very, very straightforward. Don't get hit yourself. You can bubble it, but I find that I get a lot of use out of bubble on the next boss, and it kind of depends on your route, but you really need to make sure you have bubble up for that boss. I think if you use it here and you're running Unbreakable Spirit, you actually will have it back up, but regardless, this is easy. As you see, I don't really do a ton of healing. Now, my tank, or my warrior did get hit there, but that was from the Stoneborn, that wasn't from the boss. So, can't falter for that. That's just, you're trying to grab the Stoneborn, you're gonna get hit. It's okay. But I'm just gonna do damage. I'm doing about 2k right now, which isn't bad. But I did not damage pot this because I forgot that we are not invising in this dungeon with our new route, which you will see shortly. Usually we go up the left-hand side and we invis, which is pretty normal from what I understand. But that is not the route we are doing today. However, out of habit, I did not pop it, so that's a little unfortunate. And you're going to see me do something kind of embarrassing up ahead, which, you know what? Let's all learn from this key, myself included. Don't make the mistakes that I made. And, maybe if I popped the damage potion, timer on the last boss would have been a little bit bigger. Not by 50 seconds. Maybe we would have timed this by like 20, 25 seconds, which I know 5 to 10 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but you know what? When you get to that last boss and you have a minute and a half to kill it on Tyrannical, every second counts. Every second counts. But okay, so yes, like I said, we normally go up the left-hand side staircase, but we are not going up that way. We're going up the right-hand side. We're going to kick the Obliterator so that the tank can LOS it and still pull it up, and he doesn't just stand there casting it like DPS. So we're going to do that. Help out with some damage for right now. Not too much to talk about. Just the same old, same old. Watch the pats. I forget which pack we pull next, but this is a good opportunity to double pull. I think there's a gargoyle that we pull after this. And we really should have pulled the gargoyle onto this pack right here to get more value. Because, there's 2 mobs. Like, what value are you really going to get out of your CDs right here? So that definitely could have really sped up this dungeon. And again, it's really important to go back and look at these things and figure out how you can refine the route. Because, the route can always be improved. I don't care what level you're doing keys at. Even if you're at the highest level key, there's always new tech, new ways to pull, new ways to go, cooldown management. There's always ways to improve. That's the number one thing. It's not just follow the Dratnos route and then be done with it. The Dratnos route's only going to get you so far, and I'm not throwing shade at Dratnos at all. I think he does great work for pugs and for people learning, and even people that are pushing keys at our level. But it doesn't mean that he's the end-all be-all either. Like, you can still edit the Dratnos route. You can still find new routes for yourself. And speaking of which, this Stoneborn Slasher, we should have pulled with the last pack, because this is going to take forever to die, and we waste so much time. And part of the reason is just that we didn't have any cooldowns up. We had just popped it on the last couple of packs. So had we pulled this with those packs, this would have gotten the cooldown efficiency, and we would have sped up the dungeon. Because I mean, like, this is abysmal. Look how long this guy is up, and it's like, this is just a waste of time. So this is one of the things that we pointed out to ourselves after we finished the run, when we were like, okay, how can we speed this up? We all realized that this guy was just taking forever to die, and that we need to start doing more of the double, and even maybe start triple pulling some things soon to speed these things up, because this is like a key killer. Like, really. Like, we got kind of lucky throughout this dungeon, but, you know, stuff like that's not going to fly on like a 20 or higher. You know, as you get up, these small things get punished. This might be fine in like a 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, maybe even a 20, but like, if you're trying to push the best of the best, like, these pulls are so inefficient. This is a pretty good pull here, because, you know, we have Combust up. We have, let's see. Yeah, we're combusting this. We're blade storming it. So, you know, we've got some cooldowns real on here. And then these guys just get nuked. And even though the slasher's still up, it's like they got cleaved from the other AoE, so now they're at 43% instead of 100% when we start doing them. But anyway, back to Holy Paladin stuff. So, Necrotic week. Necrotic is not fun, but Necrotic is a tanking affix. It's not really a healing affix. So, one thing that I am still working on is, at some point, you just have to stop healing and just DPS. I mean, I see the tank is low, and I see the tank is at 20 stacks in Necrotic. Like, my Word of Glory is not really going to save him. I LOH'd him there because I got scared, and I didn't want him to proc his cheat death, so, I mean, that was kind of worth, but for the most part, like, you can't really do anything about the high Necrotic stacks. You just have to help damage, and had I done more of that in this run, it really would have helped speed this up by even just a few seconds. You know, a few seconds here with that, a few seconds there with whatever, it adds up. So here I invis pot, even though we don't need to invis, because I was not paying attention, and, you know, I wasted a pot that I could have used on the boss. So now at this point, there are 2 DPS pots that I could have used to help speed this run up. So learn from that. Make sure you know the route ahead of time, which I fully knew the route ahead of time. I just spaced out. And then that way you can plan out proper cooldown and potion usage, because that actually matters. And also, I believe that my weapon oil is about to fall off, so I definitely don't reapply that mid-run. I'm just realizing that right now. That's a damage loss. Especially if you're pairing with Phantom Fire potions, because those do extra damage when you have the Shadow Core oil applied, which you should be using at this point as a Holy Paladin. You don't really get a ton of healing out of the other oil, Embalmer's oil, I believe. It kind of sucks. Just don't use it. And you don't really need to heal yourself. Like, it's not great. It would be cool if it like gave your target a little bit of leech, or it healed them a little extra, but it heals yourself. It's not a lot. It'll do like maybe like 15k over the entire dungeon. Like, whatever. I'd rather just do 15k extra damage, if I'm being honest. Anyway, so this pride's pretty important. I don't want to pop a ton of cooldowns before it, but I end up doing it just because we're not nuking it fast enough. We CC the Stoneborn, which was actually pretty pog. Our monk ran all the way down while we were doing that prideful, and grabbed the Stoneborn so that our warrior could immediately MC while we were on the boss. So that was some really, really cool tech. If you can do that, that would be sick, but that is also why I popped the wings on the prideful, even though I didn't want to, because we needed to kill the prideful and we were down a DPS. But anyway, we're going to go through here. Usually what I do is I have my mage decurse himself the first round so that he can continue doing damage into the ads, and then I have him decurse me after that. Now, I bubbled there because I wanted to remove the curse and be able to place the circle where I wanted to. Also, I learned today, actually, that the range on the circle is a little bit bigger than the actual circle that you see, like the visual effect. So I could have stood in the middle and actually hit all of them. I didn't realize that. But yeah, again, obviously just try your best to remove as many as possible. Now, you can bop on this fight, but the thing is, it doesn't. I don't think you can remove the bleed with the bop. I think you have to bop beforehand, so they won't take the damage, but they still have the bleed effect. So really watch here because my mage is combusting and he's taking a lot of damage, but he also has the bleed, so he's gonna need a lot of healing. I could have sacked him there, but I was really confident in my ability to be able to keep him up with my wogs. So again, got a little greedy, but I mean it was fine. Nobody died. So I told the mage to decurse me, but I think I told him to decurse himself actually. So yeah, he took care of himself right there. And yeah, now we're just nuking down this boss. This boss is actually just not a fun one. This is probably the hardest one in the dungeon. It is the hardest one in the dungeon. I mean, the last two are kind of a joke. The last one can get a little tricky with cooldown management, but we'll talk about that when we get there. And so, yeah, don't take this boss, don't take it lightly. Things can go wrong really quick with this. Speaking of which, I'm going to die here because I was stupid. And I thought that there were some, I thought that there were some ads on the ground, but they were alive. And so I ran into the middle and I didn't have bubble and I didn't heal myself. So I fully deserved that death. But you know what? We're being redeemed by our favorite monk player. So he's going to res us and we're going to go right in. Yeah, I divine told that for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. I thought the tank was like gonna go in. I just wanted to heal everybody up really quick, but that was a complete waste of divine toll. I don't remember actually pressing that, so I might have done it as a reflex and not like actually processed that action. But you don't ever do that. Don't ever pop divine toll like while you're rezzing and there's no incoming damage. Because I'm sure I would have loved divine toll at some point during this pack. So I popped the mage here because he combusted and he was starting to get some aggro. The TH was having a little bit of trouble. Again, you have to watch for the Loyal Beast casts. Normally my warrior takes care of it, but if she had to CC something else, like make sure you're there ready to hodge it because Loyal Beast is quite nasty. Now, if she has that covered, that's great. I will CC the rapid fires because sometimes those get put in like a really bad position that prevents my DPS from being able to do damage. But also, like my tank is kiting and it's going to give him necrotic stacks. So sometimes I'll just CC the AoE ability as well. So that guy's in jail, the Gargan. He's just sitting there. There we go, we got him. He's actually the inspired mob, so that's why we CC'd him. This room can get a little hairy, not gonna lie. I do like to wings this room when I have it up. Don't be afraid to do that because you don't really need wings on this next boss. You would only be using it for damage. I mean, the damage being taken is actually quite low on that fight. It's not bad at all. So I would pop your cooldowns in this room if you have to. Or if you want to, rather, because you would get a lot of efficiency out of this between both damage and healing. It's really hard for the tank to kite in here too, because it's just, there's not a lot of room. So to reset his necrotic stacks, he just jumped all the way out. And I think his sheet death procced in that. It's a little unfortunate, but it's hard on the tank there. And I could have probably done a little bit more to help him out. So that's probably on me. But yeah, I mean, that's what demon hunters have, right? They have cheat death. It's meant there. It's meant to be used. It's meant to be abused, and that's what we do here. So, get that full efficiency out of all the Demon Hunter toolkit abilities, I guess. Even though they have like 5 buttons. Gotta make the most of them. So, anyway, no shade, no shade. Okay, so we're gonna go to this next boss. Now, normally, we mind control both of the Stoneborns. We did not do that here, and you will see why, because we have some cool, awesome tech that I think we stole from MDI, and we're going to do that in the future, you'll see. But for this boss, it's really not bad. Just pop your cooldowns and nuke it. There isn't a ton of damage going out. I will recommend using Aura when you see that the ghost is really far away from the canister it's getting kited to, or if there's like a lot of people in the AoE, then you can use Aura. But honestly, most of the time, I just use Toll. It's not a lot of damage, just heal it up, and then I have it macroed to my badge trinket, so I just get an extra intellect boost. It's great. I recommend using that macro if you run badge, by the way. But yeah, just this is the worst when you're at 2 holy power and you can't hit anything and your team is taking damage. That's a time where I would use Light of the Martyr, because I'm not really in immediate danger, but Also, I know how this boss works, and there really isn't a ton of random damage that goes out. It's only if something doesn't get kicked, and it's only when the ghost is running to its place. So like I didn't panic because I knew that there was no damage coming out. And that's something that I'm also working on as I get to these higher keys is knowing when damage is expected to come out and when I don't expect damage to come in, if that makes sense. So like for example, if I'm off somewhere out in Oblivion kiting a mechanic and all my teammates are low, do I panic and like press every button? Or do I think like, okay, this boss will only do damage like every 30 seconds and it just happened, so I know I have 30 seconds to top people back up. I don't have to pop all my cooldowns. Maybe I could do some damage right now. I do that during mists, right? Like when we get to the burn phase, there's no damage going out. So why am I going to sit there and heal everybody up during the damage phase when I could just be doing damage and helping my team that way? So I know that's a very obvious example, but there are more examples of that throughout the Shadowlands dungeons that you should be watching for. But yeah, so we're just gonna go through this, heal people up. Isn't too much more to talk about with this boss. Just make sure your DPS are kicking, and this boss is an absolute joke, honestly. There is really nothing you need to do as a healer except damage and then heal up some of the AoE. But okay, so the Stormborns that I was talking about before, we are going to go grab those now. And what we're gonna do is, you can't see it in my video, but the warrior and the tank are going to go down to the Stormborns, and they're going to grab one and MC the other one, and we're going to bring them through the gate. Because they actually do snap through the gate. And we realize, like, we're low on time here. So we need to one-phase this next mob, otherwise the key is dead. We need to kill this guy before he soaks up the ads. So don't touch the ads, don't aggro them. We're going to go to this guy, use both Stormborns, and nuke this guy. Now, I wish I had wings up for this. I really wish I had wings up, because I think, even though we do one phase this, which saves the key, it would have just been that much more security to be able to wings this guy. And I make a little bit of a bad call at the end, which I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, for this, just focus on damage. If you're going to do the strat, focus on damage. Hopefully your team doesn't take much damage. As you see here, I don't really have to do much healing. Just nuke this guy. I pop wings immediately because I just want to help. And I also popped, or at least I thought I popped the damage potion, but now that I look, I'm actually out of Phantom Fires. So I should probably go pick some more of those up. But yeah, I popped wings at the very tail end of that because I panicked and I was like, oh my god, we need to kill this thing now. I don't necessarily regret it, but looking back, I didn't need to. And I would have much rather had wings on this boss, or I'm sorry, on this prideful. Because as you see, the wings is gonna fade right now. It's not the end of the world because I do have toll back up, but this next boss on Tyrannical is really nasty, and now I am going to have a hard time healing this. I popped Aura there and Divine Toll. That was a bad call. I should have just popped Divine Toll, because now I have absolutely nothing for the first Ritual of Woe. So let's talk about cooldown management as a Holy Paladin on this fight, because this one's really tricky, and I could definitely see this killing a lot of groups. So there is a lot of damage that happens to the tank here, but because he's a Demon Hunter, he doesn't really take much. I will say when he plays Prop Pally, he does get chunked. I'm sure other tanks will also have ways to deal with this, but I do cycle through Sack on the tank, make sure they always have a cooldown up for the tank mechanic. I don't remember the name of it, but there's a bleed and it hurts, so watch that. Now, for the Ritual of Woe, there are a few ways to handle this. The most obvious way is you just have somebody stand in each beam and they soak it each individually. But apparently there's like some new tech where you could everybody stand on top of the boss, and then one or two people will like randomly soak all of it, and then that way you only have to pop 1 or 2 cooldowns. It actually bugs out for us on the next one, which I will show you. But the way I normally deal with this is I tell everybody, hey, the first Ritual Woe, I will fully cover, or everybody has to pop defensive. So for this one, I was able to toll and heal through, and things were fine. I used LOH, don't be afraid to do that. What I like to do is I'll pop wings and Divine Toll on my round, and then on the rounds where I tell people to pop their defensives, I'll pop Aura, and then I'll have them use their own DRs, AMZ, stuff like that. And I've noticed that ever since they made the change to this boss, you only really get 2 of these Ritual of Woe, so you only have to make it through that. If for some reason I find that a DPS is out of defensives, if I have Sack up, I will actually bubble Sack somebody. Again, that's assuming I don't use sack on the tank. So, like, for example, this Demon Hunter does not need sack. So I will sometimes sack somebody. And I wish I sacked my mage here, but this actually bugs out. And if you look, he takes stacks from Ritual of Woe after the cast is done. So he's not taking damage, right? The DH and the monk are taking damage. And all of a sudden, the mage just takes stacks. Like, the cast isn't going off. What's going on? And it's not his Cauterize, because his Cauterize procced earlier when he got hit by a statue. So I'm not quite sure what that was, Blizzard, but, you know, it is what it is. I start rezzing him, and thank God I did. Told him don't take it until after the Erupting Torment. And now we're just pumping. We're just begging that we can meet this timer. 45 seconds, 14% on the boss. Like, I pop everything here. I popped a potion. Let's go. Don't get hit by anything, guys, because I need to use Holy Power on Shield of the Righteous. And we're just popping everything that we need. So yeah, just it's kind of just a race at this point, but now you guys see how to handle the bosses in this dungeon. It's pretty easy as a Holy Paladin. This last boss is probably the hardest one in the dungeon, and also the hardest part of the dungeon, but I think if you use the tips that I just gave you, you should be able to heal through any of them, at least do your part of the Ritual of Woe. You still need everybody else to do their part, but hopefully this helped you guys out. Let me know if it did, and I will see you in the next video.